Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get it started. We have to start with the Boston Celtics. I would say in Celtics history, I know it's been a long history, that was one of the top 10 most exciting games to watch from the beginning to the end in my history since the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
Would you?
What this goes in the category of the Bird steal, the Gerald Henderson steal, the Havlicek steal. What am I forgetting?
Okay, so
you've got the 1976 triple overtime game.
Yep.
Yeah, Gerald Henderson, yeah.
For an excitement for a game per se, absolutely. Obviously, those games were deeper in the playoffs than this, the first game of the first round.
For the feeling that it made you have, it's right there.
Absolutely,
It was a fabulous finish. I mean, you can't script it any better. It was a Hollywood finish. It's just the way you like to go home.
And then we throw in the dislike for Kyrie on top of it.
The highest rated first round game in many years. For ABC, about 10 million people watched at its peak. This series has everything. It has villains. It has literally Kyrie interacting and flipping the bird to the crowd during the game on numerous occasions.
Well, I know. Before we go too deep into the Kyrie of it all, because the thing that's kind of bumming me out at this point in time is how much of this has become about Kyrie and his ridiculous behavior, and how it's like the left. It's like if you watch ESPN and stuff, they're leading with the Kyrie stuff, and they're like, oh, by the way, the Celtics made a great all-time play to win a highly contested, highly enjoyable basketball game.
Yeah, Russ, we know what sells newspapers. And
I know, but it's just I cannot stand the guy. And not enough bad things can happen.
Kyrie's in your head. He's in.
No, he's not in my head. But
he's in the crowd's head. That's for sure.
Scotty's point. It's got a top 10 All NBA all-time player in Kevin Durant. He's a top 10 player, maybe the best scoring forward of all time. Period. Right.
I agree with that, but it's not. It's arguable. Yeah, people argue with you.
Yeah, but he's in there. I mean, he's in that argument. So it's a 2-7, with the 7 is, obviously got not a normal 7. You've got up and coming stars. You've got Boston and New York. Yeah. It's an unbelievable first round series.
And you have a guy that in Kyrie, I know again, I have to say, when he's at his best,
he's amazing.
One of the best guards I've ever seen play a game.
Unbelievable.
And New York hasn't had a playoff team really in 20 years. This is their first. That's what's going to drive the ratings.
Well, look, this was also two teams that are closely matched. And like
a good matchup.
You have a great start in Kevin Durant, but what you have is you have a potential guy in Jason Tatum to be the face of the league. And a lot of guys like the Brandon Beals, Bradley Beals, and the Durants of the world are actually saying that. Mm-hmm. This guy is for real. And then he takes it to another level.
Buddy, I had seen him in games, in the last 2 years. Games with Kevin Durant and games with LeBron, and when he turned it on, he was the best guy on the court. Yeah. But we were seeing flashes of that. Now we're seeing it on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
And you make the next level when you make game-winning shots. Mm-hmm. That's what the stars do.
Even if it's a 1 foot bunny.
Yeah. Look, it wasn't as much, of course, it wasn't the layup. It was the move. It was allowing himself to be in position to get the pass. Let's start with Jaylen Brown in that final play, and I've watched it 100 times. Mm-hmm. Normally, Jaylen Brown gets the shot blocked. He turns it over. He does something that doesn't work out for the Celtics, but the ball never goes anywhere else. It heads toward the basket. This case, he throws it off to Marcus Smart. The maturation of Jaylen Brown, who played fantastic that game, that shows itself in that one play.
What have we
Yeah.
seen with 10 seconds left? We've seen get Durant, get JT the ball. He comes down, bounces it 6 or 7 times, and does a fall away 3 that typically would not go in.
Well, that set up the whole sequence of events because that drew the entire defense to him. 4 of the 5 were on him. So he kicked it out to Smart, who was wide open all along. Didn't want to make that play. And then it went from there when they all rushed overcommit over to Smart. All of a sudden, Jason Tatum, who's usually triple teamed it, all by himself, going in for a layup.
Russ, that's Udoka. Jaylen Brown making that play a year ago with Brad Stevens as coach. He doesn't make the same play.
Well, first off, Brad probably calls timeout because he made his name in coaching circles by his after timeout plays.
Right.
Starts with Ime not calling timeout. Horford gets the rebound, skip ahead pass to White. So 2 guys have touched the ball. White skips it ahead to Brown. 3 guys touch it, right? Brown draws the guys, sends it to Smart, 4 guys, and Tatum's the 5th guy to touch it, right? This is what this team has been doing since January. If you look at their stats, their assists to made baskets ratio is very, very high now. They are assisting on a much higher percentage of made baskets than they were in the Brad Stevens era in the first half of the year. So yeah, it's Ime. It's also Ime having faith that the ball's not going to get itself gummed up on that possession, right?
And also Ime realizing that Gordon Dragic is in the game and he's the one they want to attack. And if you call timeout, they're going to get him out of there and they're going to have Claxton or someone bigger in there.
Look,
You know what I like? He this was kind of Belichickian. He had prepared for this moment. He had said, okay, if the circumstances are such and such, we're not going to call a timeout. And he saw, that's a quick decision you have to make.
Sure.
But he had thought about this beforehand, this situation, and he was prepared for it. He said, okay, they don't have a set D, blah, blah, blah. Our best chance is to not call a timeout.
Oh, yeah, it's a great point, Timmy. He did, because White doesn't call a timeout there. He didn't even look over to Udoka.
Yeah.
Udoka told him to
look, look, Jason Tatum had 8 assists, right? That's a new thing in a game like that.
Yeah.
Smart didn't take a shot at the end of a game that he used to take and focused on moving the ball. Brown didn't turn it over. I mean, I've seen Brown all year long turn that ball over in that situation. He dribbles it off his knee out of bounds.
That's exactly that same spot too. Literally that same spot.
Derek White did exactly what he was brought to this team to do, which is move the damn ball, get the ball and move it. Unlike Schroeder and Jason Richardson. Josh Richardson
held on to it until 3 seconds.
Both those guys were ball stoppers. They had Velcro on their fingers.
So many things too. Smart had an open shot too. His defender was boxed out. There was nobody in front of him that could defend that shot, and he didn't.
They ran at him, but he.
The guy running at him was boxed out.
But after he deked those 2 guys, he had an open 15.
Yeah. After he deked the 2 guys, he had a wide open shot. He had a wide open.
He had no intention.
He had a wide open 10-foot shot though.
The Nets wanted him to shoot.
Yeah.
People that wanted him to shoot. Now, Russ makes a great point about how they got everybody involved in that final offensive play. The irony is, Russ could say the same thing about the final defensive possession.
It was unbelievable.
Every 5 guys.
I think totally agree. I think the most important play, the most unbelievable play was that defensive possession. That was insane, that defensive possession.
The way Al Horford corralled Kyrie at the end and then turned around, got position, got the rebound.
Unbelievable.
I thought Al was the best player for the Celtics overall.
He was really good. Really good.
That just shows you how, again, this is about Udoka. His time management with him reducing the minutes and giving Al rest the last month or so when he started to look a little tired. All of a sudden you saw the Al Horford that we saw 3 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And his rebound there in traffic and then being able to clear out, get the ball to White in a timely fashion so they could bring the ball up. Look, Al Horford has never gotten enough credit to me in this town. He's been ragged on a lot.
But he got that average Al moniker early.
When he
Been
was,
hard to shake.
remember how bad when he went to Philly, he performed against us? I mean, he was not a good player at Philly.
yeah.
And then he seems to morph back into his old self when he got back here again.
Well, I think what happened too is him coming back, he came back into much lower expectations. You know, he was the guy they traded Kemba's contract out for, right? So now he comes back and he doesn't have to be the best player on the team or even the third best player. We would have accepted him being the fifth best player.
Yeah,
on the
when we
team.
signed him, it was almost like a franchise signing.
It was, but that was like
Max
6
free
years ago.
agent, yeah. He
Right,
was a
that's
max
it.
free
And,
agent.
and we were happy that, you know, no one had come to Boston for years at that
Right.
point. We were happy that
Right.
somebody came to this cold, dark part of the country.
It sure is cold.
I think the whole organization had its fingerprints on those last two possessions. If you think about it, you get Horford because Brad decided to trade that Kemba Walker contract out. He looked like a throw-in, right? You got Derek White, who a lot of folks were like, ho hum, that's the guy you got that's the guy that you got at the trade deadline. It's going to be the difference maker, right? They stuck with Smart. They continue to develop Brown and Tatum.
Oh, just stop it. You wanted to get rid of him too. You
We
all
were-
wanted to get rid
We
of
were
him.
seduced by the forbidden fruit from
No.
the tree of evil.
Nope.
I wanted to get rid of Marcus Smart. There's no question about it. Come
Who
me.
did?
I wanted to get rid of
Oh,
him
yeah, you
in
did. Yeah.
December. No
Yeah,
question
you did.
before the
Yeah,
deadline.
you did.
And you guys agreed. The team
No,
Only after a beatdown, after.
We agreed that he should have been, if you're gonna trade him, you trade him, not at the beginning this year where you were selling low, but 2 years previous when he would have been at his high.
Yeah.
Worth his most in trade.
look, I guess my point is that that was a product of an overall turnaround that Brad had a lot to do with as a GM and Udoka had a lot to do as a coach, and Marcus and Tatum and Brown had a lot to do with because they changed their games to fit a team
Well,
concept.
they're 24 now. They're not 22.
Right.
Well, it's nice. I think Tatum really appreciated a guy like White, where he could move without the ball, and the ball would find him in a place where he could shoot from rather than being stuck ISO at the top of the key, double teams. You know
That's
what
a
I mean?
good point, Joe. It all changed. It was changing a little bit, but when D White came, everything changed. Literally, it was a locker room change. You could see the body language of Tatum and Brown, who love White, how that changed. All of a sudden, you get Marcus Smart behaving and playing his role. I mean, it's like D White was the ghost whisperer.
He's not a great player, but he was the right person at the right time in the right place for that team.
Yep.
Yeah, and he was a guy that Udoka can turn to during a practice when Udoka's making a speech and say,
Yeah.
"Isn't that right, D White?" And then D
Yeah.
White, emphasizes something that he sends the message. He's a key guy, and look, it would have been Pritchard in those roles if it wasn't for D White. That's all of a sudden, and you saw the time that Pritchard spent in game one, and team defensively was a wreck when he was in there.
Yeah, you may not be able to play him in this series unless Kyrie's out of the game and he really only has to defend Seth Curry or Dragic, right?
Yeah, Curry's hurt. He's not himself, but the bench didn't do anyone any good in that game. The bench was awful. Grant Williams was terrible. Pritchard was awful. Even D White, I didn't think was stood out with that bunch anyway.
Well, no, he didn't shoot well at all. All right, so boys, how do you see the series developing as we move forward?
I mean, I kind of feel like it's going to go 7 games.
Oh, you do? Wow.
Yeah, I do. I really don't know what to expect tomorrow night, right? You have to figure KD is going to play better. but I don't know that Kyrie's going to play any better. And the likeliest scenario is the Celtics are going to put more bodies on Kyrie. He won't play as well. I think our bench will play better, to Joe's point.
Oh,
right? But I think it's nip and tuck. If we win tomorrow, I think it'll be a 6-game series, but I could see us losing tomorrow night.
Look, Timmy, guys like Seth Curry, I thought were playing out of their heads early on for the Nets. I think the strategy is let Seth Curry beat you.
Yeah. Now, I think you're going to have Kyrie play like Kyrie played and Durant play like Kyrie played for the Nets to win.
I agree.
I think they're both going to have to play out of their mind if they're going to win. And with this defense, I think the Celtics defense has an answer for it. I mean, Kyrie's not going to make those shots, but he's not, he can't do that again. I don't think he's capable. I think he's a great player, but I'll take my chance on letting him take 3-pointers from 5 feet outside the 3-point line all day. You want to, if that's how you're going to have to beat us, you know what? God bless you. You deserve to win. I don't see that happening. And I think they are going to torture Kevin Durant throughout this series, and they are going to make him earn every basket. And I don't care who you are. If you have they have top level defenders on him.
Here's the thing though, Timmy. I don't know that that the refs are going to allow that kind of chippiness on Durant in the second game. My guess is the Nets have been on the phone with the front office, with the league office about, these guys are chipping him and pushing him around. I think the Celtics could get a whole bunch of early fouls called on them tomorrow night.
What do you think this league wants to come out of this?
Wasn't that the case in this last game?
Yeah, it was.
The most fouls all year long in the first quarter.
I worry that they're going to try to create more space for KD, and you could see Marcus get 3 quick fouls or something like that.
Who do you think the NBA would like to see win this series?
I don't even know if it's a conspiracy, but I'm not even sure it's a conspiracy situation. I think refs are influenced all over the place by teams.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes they get a call from way up saying, "Hey."
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they definitely want the series to go 7.
So they're either going to get a call saying, "Go tighten up the." We went over the film, tighten up the foul calls, or hey, we went over the film and we didn't see much. Keep calling it like you called.
Yeah. That could
the
happen.
NBA had 2 calls that they said in the final 2 minutes that should have gone for the Celtics that went against the Celtics. So
interesting.
Was that a travel on Smart's last play? Did he travel?
Looked like it to me.
No, I know you had said that, but I don't think he did. They would never have called that at that point. They were pretty much whatever went.
Now, did they miss?
I think everyone's forgetting a wild card that is out there. I agree with Russ. It's going to be 7 games more likely because we have that wild card of Simmons. He's not going to play tomorrow night, but they have been non-committal. He's playing 4-on-4 in practice now. He's been cleared for contact. That's a 6'11" body that likes to drive into the paint. That's something they didn't have in game 1.
He's also a guy they can't put on the court in the last 5 minutes because of his free throw shot, right?
Well, but that's all you do. You don't have him in there, but it gives them a paint presence because Drummond, the Celtics were able to get Drummond in early foul trouble, and then they had their way. They outscored the Nets by 20, 30 points in the paint, out-rebounded them by 20. Without Drummond, they were just helpless. But Claxton's a clown.
Well, we talked about it last week. We said go with Drummond in the first half and get him in foul trouble right away. And
that's exactly what happened. He had 4 fouls in the first half.
Remember though, Joe, my guess is Time Lord's back, if not in game 4 and game 5, right? So I'm thinking we're going to spend the last 3 to 4 games with Robert Williams. They may spend the last 3 to 4 games with Ben Simmons. I'd rather have Robert Williams on the Celtics. I'll take that trade.
Yeah.
I'll take that trade.
Oh yeah. When's the last time Simmons actually played an NBA game?
Well over a year ago.
Look at this too. When
it was the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
When Simmons is in there, that's one less guy that can shoot the ball. You don't have to worry about him, 10 feet outside.
Yeah, the issue is defensively, it's someone they could stick on Tatum for 15 minutes a game and make Tatum work hard, right? That's what they could do with Simmons. Right?
What coach makes more adjustments?
I don't know. I haven't seen Nash coach enough to know whether he's a good in-game coach or not.
Yeah.
Neither coach made a lot of adjustments in that game, and I thought they would make more, especially in the second half. But they made some small ones, but nothing major.
Okay, if we get through the Nets, does that help us moving forward because of the stiff competition, or does the exhaustion of the series, like Russ had talked about 2 years ago with the Celtics when they were in the COVID year, having to go through Toronto, and by the time they got to Miami, they were exhausted.
Yeah.
Is that where it's
It's a
ugly?
real look. That's a real concern. I mean, Milwaukee's game the other night with the Bulls was probably as close a game as they're going to have the whole series, for God's sakes. They only managed to score 96 points against the Bulls for some reason. They're going to win in 4 or 5, and we're going to be in a war.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, iron sharpens iron, and as I recall, the last time we won a championship, almost every series went 7 games.
Every game.
It was a war.
And about 10 of those games went to overtime too, Joe.
The only thing, the 7-game series can really be detrimental if you get some nicks and, bruises along the way, and guys aren't playing up to 100%. That's where a 7-game series can really take its toll.
Every game increases opportunity for injury.
Oh yeah, every minute.
Well, we didn't have the opportunity to make our predictions the rest of the series. Russell.
I'm going to say I'm between 6 and 7. I'm going to say 7, but I think it's Celtics in 6 or 7. I'll say 7.
Timmy.
I'm going to say Celtics in 6.
All right. Uncle Joe.
Although I agree with every point that Russ has made, I'm going to go with Tim on the 6. Especially if they can win tomorrow night, I think that will dishearten the Nets team, other than Kyrie.
So Celtics in what?
6.
All right, Celtics in 5. I think.
Really? Very nice.
I just want to say one caveat.
The eternal
The
optimist.
first 3 games, Kyrie needs to pull the same shit he pulled when the last game we ever played for the Celtics, and completely tank it.
Yep.
Run,
Yeah.
go, not even look at the basket, throw the ball up, and run back.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Look, and to that end, and I do believe, like, you cannot allow him to go off like he did. Someone needs to put him on the ground. Like, there's no one being physical with Kyrie. Someone needs to freaking flatten Kyrie once or twice tomorrow night.
No, his contract expires this year, right?
No, I don't think so.
No, he's got an option.
He can opt out if he wants.
Well, the irony of that is we have the defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, who's never been afraid to seriously hurt a player if he had to.
Yeah, he is not afraid of making friends out there.
I think that's Grant Williams' job.
I would gladly sacrifice Grant Williams for about 35 minutes in tomorrow's game.
That is his job.
Right? Just to flatten Kyrie once. I mean, I don't even put him out for the game. I'm just like, make him freaking think about it.
Yeah,
remember, Brett Auerbach could have Larry Siegfried go on and tease Will Chamberlain until he got a couple of teams.
That was my buddy Eddie Sullivan, played for Cambridge Ridge Latin. He was a 330-pound defensive end who went to Iowa. And anytime somebody started hacking at who was the big kid out of Cambridge there? Played for the Nets. Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing was like so thin in high school, And Jarvis would give Eddie the nod. 330-pound freckled redhead kid coming in. Somebody was leaving with a sore something after Eddie. I don't think Eddie could walk and bounce the ball at the same time.
Rick Roby used to set great picks before he got traded for DJ. He'd flatten people. I was thinking about it. No football player would we ever say could play in the NBA because if they could play in the NBA, they'd be playing in the NBA because nobody, a guy like Marcus Smart
Oh, yeah.
could play in the NFL.
I could see him as a linebacker, throw about 20
easily.
pounds on him. I think it'd be an animal.
Well, you think of a 6'3", or 6'3", 6'4", fast, strong, hard head. I mean, the kid he plays with a football mentality.
I could see Grant Williams playing tight end too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Got the size.
Yep.
Well, we always talk about LeBron James. Can you imagine what kind of tight end he'd be?
They forget about Gronk and Kellen Wilson.
Oh, my God. Well, congratulations to Marcus Smart. That's well deserved. That kid gives a great effort. And I wanted him out of town, but I don't want him out of town anymore. So there you go.
Good.
His name was in Scotty's book with the line through it.
It was. It's true, but I like it now. All right, we go to the Boston Red Sox, and it's just, there really isn't a great team out there right now, fellas. Everybody's kind of mulling around in almost both leagues. Sox are 5-5. That's exactly the type of team they are, right? But right now, that bottom three, Jackie Bradley, Dahlbeck, and Vasquez, is about as bad as I've seen recent Red Sox teams.
What the disappointing thing is, the end of last year, we looked at that lineup and we said, if it's anything like this next year, we're in great shape.
Yeah.
And it is a shadow of the lineup that we ended the season with, that we were all excited to go into this year with. I would say, Hines dropped the
Well, you
ball.
lost a big lefty in Schwarber and a big right-handed bat in Renfro.
But we gained the second baseman there, so that's one of them back, though, right?
Yeah, but they're different type of players.
The right field, the JBJ swap out is really,
And he's playing.
By the way, Suzuki makes $2 million a year less than JBJ.
And he's batting .415 right now, just so you know. And now media is starting to pick that up again. Why, that was fairly short money when
Why do you pay $12 million for JBJ, but it's too much money to get Suzuki?
I don't understand the JBJ experiment. Someone, will you please explain it to me?
draft picks, right?
I think he did it because of the prospects. And look, I think we were not big fans of Hunter Renfroe in the playoffs.
No.
He was an automatic out. So, but they didn't replace Renfroe with a real baseball player.
What was his name? Suzuki in right field. Is that who we were hoping?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Yeah.
I think he had
Went to the Cubs.
I think he had him penciled in. I really do. And
then it had to be John Henry put the kibosh on the expenditure.
I doubt it. He's paying more for JBJ.
Again, he bought prospects, which we're not surprised about. There was a lot of rumors about him doing that for San Diego. Will Myers, that was a heavy deal. But then again, Will Myers is a hell of a lot better player than JBJ. It's not even close. JBJ is the worst offensive player in the history of baseball last year. Was the worst. And
I read this tweet today. There was a guy, Joe, in like the 1940s, played for the St. Louis Browns. He had one arm, and the guy he hit 218 with one arm. He's a better hitter with one arm than Jackie Bradley is with two.
Yeah,
during the war years, when all the guys were over in World War II.
One arm.
I just looked up.
Catch the ball, put the glove on the ground, and throw it in.
Suzuki's numbers the last 15 games. He's batting .429, slugging .929, OBP of .564.
Yeah, can you imagine just the energy that a guy like that would have brought to the Red Sox and the Red Sox lineup?
We would be a whole different lineup.
And they must already have an interpreter and all that because of Sawamura, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was my
Sawamura Japanese.
Yeah. It's unconscionable. Does Heim care? I know I asked this question last year, and I think they got pretty lucky. Does Heim care about the current 25-man roster?
Well, we thought he didn't care last year either,
Not
right?
if they win, the Sea Dogs win the championship.
No, look, I don't think that's quite fair. I mean, look, he's left them shorthanded in right field. I think most baseball teams know that the team you have in April is not necessarily going to be the team that takes you through the summer. I'm sure they're looking around and they're already thinking about either pickups or trades or something like that. And they left themselves short on the pitching because Sale got hurt on the starting pitching.
When you have
Well,
a
that could resolve itself with maybe isn't Paxton and Sale due in the second half of the season? We
Right.
might be able to get rid of the Rich Hills of the world,
Yeah.
by then.
But when you have your first baseman and right fielder, and you really the expectation of any kind of production is limited, those positions.
Yeah, but I mean, Scotty, take a look at Dahlbeck's last 154 games. He hit 33 home runs in 154 games for the Red Sox.
Scotty, he's young. They brought him up too soon. He's learning on the job. With another 2 years, he might be a real good major league hitter. But you got to give him a chance to learn. He should have been doing it down in AAA, not here. That's the problem. Heim brings guys up too early. He seems to like that, likes to try them under fire. And we saw last year, he brought up dozens and sent them all back down.
Well, Timmy, we know stats lie at times, and if you watch the games like you all do, you know that Dahlbeck just eats up middle relievers, and this was not a guy who can do well against top pitchers or closers. And when in the playoffs last year, he had no chance, non-competitive up at bats.
Yeah, that's the issue. Our aspirations are to go to the playoffs, right? And what are you going to see in the playoffs? You're going to see the best of the best. And at this present moment, he appears, once you go into the top 30% of the pitchers in this league, he has no chance at the
playoffs. None. And then,
look, but that's the player is. He can hit AAA and 4A pitching like no one's business. And he still should have been at that level learning before he came up to the major leagues and started, because he can't hit major league pitching. But maybe after a year or two of being up here, he'll be able to.
Well, they have a right.
Right now, he can't do it. I agree, 100%.
Well, the savior is in at Worcester, and he plays right field right now, and his name is Frenchie Cordero. Frenchie may be the greatest AAA player of all time.
Is he tearing it up?
Tearing it up again like crazy.
Oh my God. Is he really?
Yeah, like 380. Yeah. Like it seems to hit like a home run every game. How can a guy be that good just on one level below the major league?
Can't hit a curve, I'm sure.
No shot, none.
How about you bring up, I know you're dying for Tristan Casas to come up.
Yeah.
He bats left. Bobby Dahlbeck bats right. How about an old Mitchie Moreland,
Yeah.
Whoever's the starting pitcher is, that's the guy that starts at first base. And next year, JD will be gone. And these two can swap off as DH and first base.
Yeah, they've been talking about a platoon right now, but I think they want Cases to get some more up at bats in AAA. Look, we saw what happened with Duran. He wasn't ready. We hyped him. Duran's got to come up here. Now we don't even think about him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, we're the guys who are all in favor of bringing up prospects. I mean, we're the first ones to say, yeah, bring them up. Why shouldn't Duran be here? Or why shouldn't this guy be here? And there's a downside to it. So, I mean, I think we were all pretty happy when Duran came up last year and he stunk, right?
When the worst defensively of any outfielder when he was playing. I mean,
I would only say, look, you've been a big supporter of Chaim, and I know you're kind of half joking around. I would say, give this team another month. See what we got. I'm sure he's looking for a right fielder. I'm sure of it. They're not going to go through the whole year with Jackie Bradley hitting $130 in right field.
You know what strikes me? There's no other sport out there like baseball where you like you just talked about Frenchie tearing it up in AAA. Like if you're in hockey or football or basketball, right? And you're tearing it up at the, the Providence Capitals or the Maine Lobsters or whoever, that usually translates into you having similar success at the next level. Is there any other sport out there where you literally have to hone your craft, your hitting craft, for even if you come out of college as a star hitter, you might have 3 or 4 years where you have to hone your craft at that level before you're ready for the big leagues?
Yeah, well, baseball's like that. Number one picks, baseball's littered with the number one pick in the draft, never playing a game in Major League Baseball. You would not see that in any other sport.
Wow.
Those guys come in as stars. Baseball, even like a Marcelo Mayer, is going to have to spend 3 to 4 years in the minor leagues.
And there's no check mark you can put next to his name, not even close to that right now, that he'll have a successful MLB career.
Wade Boggs is in the Hall of Fame. He was 7, 8 years in the minors.
What other sport
Hall of Famer.
does that even come close to applying in?
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean,
Maybe an NFL quarterback? I don't know. But
yeah.
Yeah, there should be a second league.
Baseball's unique in that. Look, Mike Piazza, what was he, like a 60th round pick?
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
He got into the Hall of Fame. It's a very difficult player development to figure out what you're going to do in baseball.
Very, very hard to project a high school or even a college player for the most part into the majors, just is.
I mean, they can all catch and throw. It's that time at the plate that separates them.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes. Well, they have a big series coming up starting tonight with Toronto. Nathan Eovaldi, who is our number one starter. And when we talk about re-signing players, I have to turn to Russ here. We made the mistake with Nana Chrissy. We signed him around this time of year when he was going to be up the following year. Do we not make the same mistake, or do we go and try to re-sign Nathan?
I mean, I don't think you need to sign him right now. If he's pitching well into July and August and things are going well and he looks healthy, then I think I'd open up the I'd open up the conversation. But it's probably, you can also wait. They've got money, right?
They have a lot of money after this
until the off season. The only thing is
how old
cost
is he
is
now?
money.
Eovaldi's got to be in early 30s, probably 33.
Yeah, early 30s. It's his last big contract.
He's got one left, though. He's got a good big one left.
Yeah,
but he's a horse. He's a horse.
He's
that kid.
terrific.
Yeah.
After you've had a couple of Tommy Johns, I mean, your arms should be indestructible by now. They've rebuilt the thing.
Yeah.
This college kid just came back from Tommy John throwing 105.
Oh, Hunter Green.
Something, one of those. Yeah, I read it.
They all get a. They all
he wasn't throwing that hard before Tommy John, though.
They have kids in high school that are perfectly healthy getting Tommy John. It's unethical because it makes your arms stronger.
I just want to mention before we leave the Red Sox, I don't want to hear any more updates about Nana Chrissy. I don't really care. He's throwing his rehab. He's doing this. I'm so tired of the propaganda bullshit when it comes to that guy. When he's on the mound and he's pitching, then we can talk about Nana Chrissy. Are we making that as a pack right now?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me.
The guy is injured, Scotty. Why do you hate him so much?
He's always injured. He's a phony baloney.
He's supposed to be playing for us, Tim. That's why.
His body is physically damaged. You can't perform.
Oh, just stop it. We talk about fat athletes who are out of shape, and that you can see that. That's clear. You see a guy who's fat. This guy is the opposite. I've never seen a guy who literally has no muscle whatsoever.
We put him on the Tim Hoey diet.
And that's cost him. That's cost him. And it's cost the Red Sox from signing guys like Suzuki. If they had that sale, I bet you Suzuki's on our team right now.
Oh my God. Well, no, I mean, you're going to drag me right back into this. If we didn't have Sale, Mookie Betts would be on our team right now.
Yeah, exactly.
He would be our right fielder. That's our right fielder.
Yeah, we wouldn't need Suzuki. Right, think about it. We'd have Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
That lineup that won in 18, we'd have that lineup.
Right.
And that's a pretty good team.
Yes, it is.
Apparently, from what I remember, the greatest Red Sox team in the history of the franchise.
Yes, it was.
2018, yeah.
Yeah, So yes, so Chris Sale, he needs to pitch. The guy, and I need him to be mute. Seriously, I never want to hear another fucking word that he ever
When he
said.
came back last year, he couldn't pitch at all either, so I'm not
What
going
does
to
Steele
like
have? 2 years left this year,
Yeah.
next
I
year?
don't know. I think 3 more, right?
that.
Is it really?
Red Sox are gonna be
I
paying.
think it's this year and 2 more, to tell you
The Red Sox are gonna be paying him till 21, 29. No,
Yeah.
next 100 years.
Brutal.
The Stevens family is gonna be cursing him out for the next 100 years. They're Chrissy. All right, the draft is coming. What is it? What is it? April 28th?
April 28th. Yep.
All over the radio today. I was cruising down the road. I couldn't find a station that wasn't talking about the draft.
That's all everybody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
No one's got a clue. That's what kills me. Is
No one's got a clue.
There have to be 500 guys making $1 million a year talking about the draft.
That's how it works.
It was 6 a.m. this morning until I get out of the car. ESPN, Fox, ESPN2, blah, 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 blah. This, da, 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 da.
Mel Kiper invented a whole industry.
There was a
Look,
whole industry.
I believe, I don't know if you guys agree with me. I think the Patriots already know who they're drafting.
Yeah.
They might have who they would like to draft. Will he be there?
I don't think they even play that game.
No, if there's a couple, they've got like 3 or 4 names that if they fall, yes, they'll take
Scotty, they have to play that game because you
I
don't want to
think
be wasting a first round pick on a guy who you could get in the 3rd round.
Well, he's infamous for doing that.
I
He
know.
goes outside the box. Nobody knew who Duger was.
He's trading down. Come on. We'll be all jazzed up for the 21st pick in the draft.
I
He's
think
going
he can.
south.
And
Then
you can go to bed because you're going into the second round.
If Belichick were the coach,
Right.
if Belichick were the coach of the Jets, and he treated their draft like there would be mass suicides in New York City because Jets fans. The only happy day of the year when you're a Jets fan is draft day because you're typically at the top of the pile, and you're just consumed with some star coming out of it, and he's gonna do it. And then the Jets fan be waiting there. The Jets have the 4th pick in the draft. Oh, Bill Belichick is traded down to 3 second round.
I know.
What?
Well, look, the only draft where anybody had any sort of read on what the Patriots might do was last year.
Yeah.
Right. That was it. That in the last 10 years, that if you look at who was accurate in terms of having them pick Mac Jones, that was the highest percentage of accuracy.
Belichick does take advantage of some of these overzealous other coaches. I think he does it well. So where are we in the draft this year? What pick?
21st.
21.
Okay, so you take, so he looks at a 21st pick and he goes, "This is 2 guys in the 2nd round that are pretty darn close to talent level of this, who looks like they would go with this pick to this team. We'll pick 9 and 15 spots away and get almost a 2-for-1 sale. Why wouldn't you do that?
I think he should screw with us and go down to like 26, and then we stay up because we have the 26th pick, and then trade out after that. So trade twice out of the 1st round.
And that's what you should do.
It won't be up till 2 in the morning. What? That's what happened.
So we're just cussing constantly, right? So he'll do that to go get the 34th pick.
No, he'll trade it for 2 years down the road.
Yeah, right. There seems to be so many guys, and of course, because like you said, Timmy, everywhere you go, they talk about the draft. But it really feels like just a couple of guys that they're going to focus on. And the main guy I'm hearing so much about is the Utah, Devin Lloyd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
linebacker.
Right.
Yeah. And
But I think there's a lot of linebackers, there's a lot of interior offensive linemen, and a lot of wide receivers. It's a deep draft for those 3 positions of need of the Patriots. And I could see him being like Russ, going back and getting extras because he thinks he can get equivalent people in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th
Right.
rounds.
no shot that he takes a wide receiver in the first.
No.
Even
No,
Matt Rowe, the player personnel guy, who I like a lot, who seems very mature, and his father was Al Groh, coach of the Patriots, actually ended up being a head coach of the Jets for a while. he said, they were very happy that they were able to acquire Parker and stuff, and that they had no interest in spending a high pick on that.
Well,
Yeah.
90% of the money on the team is being spent on offense right now. They're going to have to spend on defense.
Yeah.
Judon's the only guy making any money on defense.
Look, the game has changed in the NFL in terms of these receiver contracts. And if the receivers are the new quarterbacks. If you've got to be able to draft wide receivers in this league for the next 5 years, because once these guys hit their second contract, they're getting paid like quarterbacks.
Yeah.
As well,
that's why people are drafting them in the first round now.
Right.
They're cost controlled for 4,
right,
maybe 5 years.
All you gotta do is watch the playoffs and see so many dropped passes.
Right.
And realize that a top wide receiver is gold.
Yeah.
And you're not going anywhere. None of these quarterbacks are going anywhere. Even the Josh Allens, the Mahomes of the world.
That's right.
Unless they have top quarterbacks. Look, Tom Brady, he had some guy called Gronk. I don't know if you'd heard of him.
Yeah. And he had Julian Edelman and Wes Welker.
And Godwin, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly. And Evans and stuff. Look, so what would be the fun pick? What first round guy that you've heard that would be fun, that it would actually, Lloyd's not going to be any fun. We're going to be like, oh, that's very nice. What fun pick? What pick would like, oh, that's fun.
I like the sound of that big Jordan Davis, just a big monster on the defensive line. That guy with Barmore. Oh.
The new Vince.
Yep.
Barmore at his size could play defensive end in the 3-4. Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, we saw
Richard Seymour that.
We saw what Barmore did most of the season for Judon.
Yeah.
They were having a double team Barmore, which gave the opportunity for Judon to do whatever he wanted to do. They figured that out later in the season, and he wasn't as effective. But a guy like Jordan Davis, like that would help the linebackers, right?
That'd be fun. Yeah.
That sounds like the best pick. Now we got, as a fan, we got to root for as many quarterbacks to be drafted before us, because we don't have that need. Mel Kiper, who I love Mel Kiper. I love guys who are totally into what they do in the sports world. He said that if Mac Jones had come out of this draft, he'd be the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
All the guys drafted in front of him would have been the number 1 pick.
No. Not even saying right, exactly.
He did say Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, all of them would be the number 1 pick this year.
Right, but if they had
Justin Fields would be number 1
pick last year, and Mac Jones, had come out this year, then Mac.
What do you think? What pick would Mac Jones be if you drafted the same quarterbacks that you did last year? Would he be? I don't think he'd be number 1.
Same way. About the same place, probably.
I don't know.
Quarterback heavy.
I don't think so. I think Zach Wilson would drop. I think the Jets probably have some serious concerns about Zach Wilson at this point in time.
I think the 49ers have even more concerns.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Lawrence would have gone over Mac.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No question.
But Timmy's boy, you always have to say Tim's boy, Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
Tim's boy, Trevor Lawrence.
Name.
Yeah, right. Tim was willing to give up his kidney for us to have the number 1
His
pick.
firstborn.
Still would. Timmy,
I
would
thought
you
that's
trade?
why Cam Newton was our quarterback, was just to get Trevor Lawrence.
Timmy, would you trade Mac Jones in this year's first pick for Trevor Lawrence?
Yes.
Would you trade Mac Jones in our first 3 picks this year for Trevor Lawrence?
Yes, I would. I think he's a generational player.
Love
Great
it.
quarterback.
I think
I would do it too, Tim. Tim, I'm with you. I would do that too.
I watched
Draft picks
6
are always draft
picks in a
picks.
game against the Patriots.
All right, though, Timmy, I got another one for you. Mac Jones, our first 3 picks this year, and your other man, Ramondre Stevenson.
Oh,
No. I hate to say it, but running backs are a dime a dozen.
you do it.
Oh, he's still sticking with him.
And throw in Joe's dog.
Yeah.
No, that's the breaker. Sorry.
Come
Can't
on.
separate a man from his dog.
All right, Timmy,
Tom Brady
one
was
more.
probably worth 10 first round
One more, Timmy. Mac Jones, our first 3 picks, Ramondre Stevenson and Colin Hoey.
Never.
He's away at college. Who
That's
cares?
Is it 2 a.m. on a Saturday night? And he doesn't come home yet? Or is it
Oh, Collins is binky. That's his
after he hits an RBI double? Which one?
that's his mini me. He's never given that up. That's for sure. All right. So, well, it's exciting. It's going to be fun. This is the best sports time of the year. That's
Sure is. Yep.
I would finish up with the Bruins. I don't know why they're playing. If I remember correctly, what years before, Patriots Day would be Red Sox, and then there'd be a Celtics playoff game, and then a Bruins playoff game on that weekend. What the hell are they still playing the season for?
They
I don't know.
that
This is
Olympics thing that was in there screwed up. They had 2 weeks penciled in for the Olympics. They used it with the COVID problems, but
This
I
is
think
endless.
that's the problem this year.
Oh, this is endless. This season will not stop.
I mean, if I'm the Bruins, I'm resting everybody. They've clinched the playoff spot.
Yep.
I mean, I have everybody on IVs, laying there, getting in ice baths and massages.
They're not even taking Lindholm, Pasternak, who else? Almont, the goalie. Not even traveling with them on this road trip. Not even going on
I
the
would
road
have
trip.
the Providence Bruins out there for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, that's, it sucks for the fans who spend those big bucks to go to these games, and this is not a high quality product right now. So they're gonna have to address that. They got a national TV contract and stuff, so they need to do that. But that's our show for tonight. Want to thank, of course, Ian behind the scenes always does a great job. Want to thank the fellas. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.